back to the Thought Tapestry, where we weave together the stories that shape our history, culture, and identity. I'm your host, Keisha, and today's episode is personal. And I also have my co host here, Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie.
Hi.
Hi, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you a story, weave it all together, and then we'll chat at the end.
I love
Okay,
it. Let's do it.
so today we're diving into the remarkable but nearly forgotten history of Blackdom, New Mexico. The first all-black settlement in the state, and for me, it isn't just history; it's my family history. I bet you have heard this story, Stephanie.
I haven't. I didn't even. What's the name of the city?
It's called Blackdom, like Black Kingdom.
Okay. This is
Here we
going to be
go.
good.
So, my grandparents, Elmer Buddy, that's his nickname, Buddy, Bailey, and Elizabeth Bailey, who were my great grandparents, were among the pioneers who built their lives in Black. They left Louisiana in search of opportunity, hope, and a place to call their own. So, what happened to Black Thumb, you might say? Why was it built? Why did it disappear? And why is it finally being recognized today? Let's step back in time and uncover a story. So, the story of Blackdom begins with a man named Francis Marion Boyer. He was born in Georgia in 1864. Just as slavery had ended, like many men in the South, he saw firsthand the brutality of Jim Crow and the obstacles placed in front of Black progress. He knew that true freedom would only come with land ownership and control over one's own destiny. So he and his wife, Ella Louise Boyer, left Georgia and headed out west. They arrived in the southeastern New Mexico, which is near present day Roswell. In 1903, Boyer founded Blackdom. And he wasn't alone. Other Black families followed, including my ancestors, the Baileys. My great grandparents, Elmer and Elizabeth, left Louisiana with I think they had about 13 children
Whoa.
and made their way to Blackdom. Now, Elmer married Elizabeth. They did not have any children together. Elizabeth had children, and my grandfather, Buddy or Elmer, had only my grandmother, who is Vera, which he lost her mother in childbirth. So
I see.
they were kind of like the Brady Bunch at that time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So Blackdom wasn't just an ideal, it was a real thriving town. Families built homes, a school, and businesses. James Eubanks opened a mercantile store there. There was a post office there. It was established in 1912, putting Blackdom officially on the map at that time. There was even a blacksmith shop and a newspaper because they was doing it. Agriculture was the foundation of the town, with residents farming crops and raising livestock. And churches were the heart of the community. Blackdom also had a Baptist church where people gathered, not just to worship, but to support one another. Education was just as important. A school ensured that children received education there because the settlers of Blackdom weren't just escaping oppression, they were building a future. So my great grandparents were part of this. They worked hard, built a life, and like others in the town, they held on to the dream of that Blackdom would flourish. So, but Blackdom did face its set of challenges, of course, being the smallest, blackest place there was in the southeastern.
How many people at this time lived there?
Girl, I don't know what the population is, but I'm sure it was a bunch of families. I'm gonna get back to you with that.
Okay.
So Blackman faced challenges, and even the strongest pioneers couldn't overcome. And there was a problem, which was water.
Mm.
Something so essential, so fundamental, became its downfall.
Especially in the desert.
hmm The wells that has sustained the town began to dry up. And so, without water, farming became impossible. And without successful farming, the town's economy collapsed. There were other barriers, of course, not to be overshadowed by Jim Crow. Blackdom's residents faced discrimination in banking and business, okay? Because, they had all these things going on. They were doing it on self funding themselves. I know my mom used to talk about how it was just like the Black Wall Street. They had it all going on. And they weren't able to, get loans and certain things like that, so it made it really difficult to expand the town. Meanwhile, in the 1920s, there was an oil boom in the region, and suddenly the land surrounding Blackdom became very valuable,
Mm-hmm.
but not to those who had built their lives there. Okay. So slowly, families began to leave, searching for better opportunities elsewhere. So my grandparents were among them. And when the rails ran dry, they left Bactham and moved out to Alamogordo, a town famous for the White Sands Michelin Range, as we know. Later, they returned to Roswell when my mom was in her teens. And throughout their lives, they remained deeply connected to their faith as lifelong members of Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, which we were raised up in. And they also attended Ware's Tabernacle Baptist Church and Mount Gilead Baptist Church. Those were like the oldest, some of the oldest churches in the Roswell area. And eventually they moved out here to Lake Elsinore, which is, interestingly enough, not far from where I live now. And it's a full circle moment knowing their journey led them so close to where I've built my own life. So for years, Blackdom was nearly forgotten, but history has a way of resurfacing, as we know.
Hello.
Today, the site of Blackdom is recognized as a historic landmark. Historians, researchers, and descendants of Blackdom settlers have worked tirelessly to preserve its legacy. I know back in the late 80s, we had a Nigerian pastor join a church. I think it was called Washington AME Chapel. I think he was the pastor of that church, Reverend Abuko Sumo. I hope I'm not butchering the name, but he was part of the NAACP, and with my mom and other people that were still in the community of Roswell, have to help to erect a landmark out where Blackdom once stood. It's kind of outside of town, like Dexter Hagerman area. To the people that know, they know. So, with that being said, they just wanted to have a better life. And, it's not in a lot of history books, but it's worth remembering, right? This is something that is near and dear to me, my own family, my own community. But if this story, moved you, I encourage you to do your research and look into the history. Now, with that being said, I'm going to add a little caveat because we have these things coming out nowadays with our current administration, which is kind of getting the people talking about segregation again. So we're living in a time in history where it's isn't just repeating itself, right? So it's being rewritten right in front of us. The current administration is taking steps that feel eerily familiar, rolling back civil rights protection, restricting access to Black history in schools, and pushing policies that, let's be real, are dragging us a little bit backward
A little bit.
towards segregation. And it's just not talk, it's happening in housing, education, and voting rights. The country is having this conversation, but are we really listening? If you take nothing from this episode, let's leave it with this. We have always built our own. We've had to. From Black Wall Street to Blackdom to every Black neighborhood that thrived, despite the odds, and we can't afford to let that legacy just fade away. So, with that being said, I'm going to open it up to you, Stephanie. What you think about?
I love that.
What do
That
you
felt
think
like a
about
little, like a
Blackdom, the
true
Black
history
kingdom
lesson.
of it all?
I'm crazy that I have never heard this story. Like, I'm
Ooh.
actually shocked about it. A, because it's your people, so I don't know why your family wasn't telling me this damn story. But it's pretty. I love it. I love the fact that there's documented history of, because like there was this move west, right, by a lot of formerly enslaved people. So it's really cool to see like what they were able to accomplish just almost immediately after being free,
Yeah,
which speaks to the fact that they clearly weren't dumb people, right? They were industrious, they were capable, they were progressive, they were community oriented, and you could see that all in the fact that they went to the desert. And can you even imagine how hostile it must have been even back then? You know what I mean?
it
And
was a
carved
lot.
out a life.
It was
That's
a lot. It was a
incredible.
lot. Yeah, I think I pulled up the census of that time. There was 300 people involved in this
Oh,
town.
wow.
So that's quite a lot,
Wow.
right?
That's quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's actually so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I think I do love that we get to talk about history because I just see so many things happening, and it's like it really does feel weird to be regressing in the way that we are. I can't even imagine. I mean, realistically, the laws are set up now that, like, there's nowhere we could just go and kind of thrive in this
Mm-mm.
country. We
Mm-mm.
are going to have to jump through quite a bit of hoops. And it sucks because there are still people that would argue that that's not the case. And it's like, well, then you do it for me. Say you're me and you do it for me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Pretend to
Yes.
be me, a black woman, go in
Uh-huh.
there, call them and tell
Let's
them all that shit, and
yeah.
let's just
Let's see
see
how
how
it
it goes
goes.
for you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where versus a time where you could just say, I'm a free person in
Mm-hmm.
this country. I'm going to strike out on my own. Look, what's this? I'll settle here and truly settle and build a community here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the American dream.
It is.
And
It is.
we have talked about this before. That's the dream I think that a lot of the old heads that are still running the country think exist for everyone in the country.
They do. They do. They have it
And
all
so
twisted.
that's the disconnect because it's like, no, yeah, there used to be a time where that was possible for all of us. But your grandsons and sons have decided that they're going to implement policies that make that damn near impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Come come to the front of the room, grandpa. Like, get in sync with what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's kind of sad is it's like because I'm willing to bet that sure they had natural issues like the climate and geography was definitely going you have to like you do have to kind of know the desert to be able to live in the
Yeah,
desert.
it's true.
So I'm sure that there was a huge learning curve there, but I feel like a lot of it was just the lack of what everyone else got, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that people weren't saying, hey, like this is like there was probably no guidance, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
They were probably like undercutting them on
Uh-huh.
pricing, etc. So like
Yes.
that more than anything will kill a town very quickly. And
Yeah.
I do know that there is just history of certain groups seeing black people do that and being so enraged that they just want to prevent it at any cost, right? And sometimes
Right.
that means just bombing it and burning it all down.
Oof.
Because for many, many years in this country, they were fire happy.
They were, girl.
Churches,
They were fire
houses,
happy.
crosses. They would just burn all
Yes.
kinds of stuff
Mm-hmm.
because they just couldn't conceive of upward mobility from the blacks.
They could not.
And the thing about it is I don't know why. I think it's just probably today because I don't always feel this way, but I do give them a lot of grace because that is a pretty shitty legacy,
Mm-hmm.
frankly. Like, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily want to be talking about the fact that this is who white people were all the time either. But I can even say what I'm saying without there being a lot of vitriol. So I think that you should be able to have the same type of conversation with people across the aisles. And it's weird because I feel like we shouldn't, the disconnect has always been that there's like American history and then
Mm-hmm.
there's Black history. And
Mm-hmm.
they're all the
Mm-hmm.
same damn thing.
It's the same damn thing. It's all interwoven.
And so that's what it's just like. We should be learning all of this. I don't know how can you take pride in or learn from something that you never discuss
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you
Yeah,
never
girl.
if we can't even just like talk amongst it amongst ourselves, because I feel like other nations do they own that shit like Germany after they went through their little dark age, they kind of started putting policy in place to not only acknowledge it but
Mm-hmm.
make sure that it doesn't happen
Never
again,
happens
right?
again.
Although they are struggling a little bit with the resurgence of like that type of thinking, especially there's like this far right leader, I guess, this woman, this white woman. But the weird part about it is she's married to an Indian woman, right? And so it's so hard for me to take those types of people serious because
Yeah.
it's like if your whole thing is like you're pure, only you why are you in a committed relationship
Why are you
with
dragging this
someone
lady along
of
for
a,
the
yes,
ride?
what's this all about? And then I have to believe that
Ooh.
either you are like a psychopath
Hmm.
or you don't really believe what you're saying. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? You're just
Yeah.
doing it because it's the quickest way to rise to power, because in
Yes.
some circles hate, America's
Yeah.
being the biggest one right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
will get you what you need. It'll get you money, it'll get you acclaim, it'll get your name being talked about. So I'm always very curious about that. And another thing that I think about that is America. There's never been an instance in which, especially, I actually globally, but this is us, so America, where white people have had to live just by themselves. There's never been an instance where they were in this country where it was all white.
No,
They don't actually know what that's like, right?
they
And I
did,
mean,
baby.
when the country started getting built up, they brought in
Uh-huh.
black labor, right?
Yeah.
And that they were in our, that they're cooking for you. They're literally from their teats feeding your children. So it's like you say this is what you want, but you're only here because you live in a nation where that never happened.
Right. Right.
Truly.
They want to be magical and thinking that they discovered some stuff, because I mean that story has been told so many decades that Christopher Columbus discovered America. The next were the Pilgrims, and they came over. They were so puritanical, or whatever the case may be. And they came over here, and they were so goody goody, and they were like kumbaya to the Indians. Hi, how? And shake them.
Yeah.
And then they had Thanksgiving, and then they were friends, and they showed the Indians how to live, and they had showed them how to wash themselves, and to show them hygiene, and then they introduced them to religion, and then so
Yeah.
they do be thinking they like the top of the bar, like, oh,
It's
we are the ones,
actually,
we discovered this. But you know what, like, I would say this, like, a lot of people will think about the discovery. Now, we don't know a lot of stories about history, but we don't know who black shipbuilder was back in Africa, and then came over here and was just like, okay, dipped right out. We not want to mess with those people. They over there doing they bid. Like, we never hear these stories, and
hmm
we
hmm
probably they were probably burnt or removed altogether. But I'm
hmm
sure there were so many other explorers back in the
yes,
day. There were
yes,
boats, for God's sake,
yeah,
you
you
know.
know what I mean. That, and the thing about it,
And
didn't Chris?
ingenuity.
And the only reason, I mean, one of the things that they do at least concede is the only reason why Columbus hit America is because he was lost. Like, this isn't even where he was headed. He just got lost and found this. So he wasn't really
Happenstance.
exploring, right? He was
Ah,
more being like fucking guided. I don't know. But agreed, like there's no way that there are other people weren't saying like this is, a land that we are interested in.
ah,
So it's hard. That's why history. That's why the preservation of history, I think, is so important, and why it's so important to have like diverse uh, people telling those stories. Because if it's just homogenized to one single person, there's so many perspectives you don't get. Because the facts are is that, and there's actually this really heartbreaking photo circulating on TikTok right now where it's like I don't even know. There's like a native of like I think a tribe in North Dakota, and he's crying and like wiping away tears because they're signing a treaty that's going to give like these white people basically like ownership of whatever. And that actually happened more often than the kumbaya moments. I feel like sure they might have been welcoming to you because there were welcoming people. They didn't realize the destruction that you're about to wrought on their lands. So I'm
yes.
certain they were very like, sure, come, there's plenty. And then you show up and you actually don't know how to clean, so you're bringing disease. Do you know what I mean? You're like just wasting meat because you don't understand the need to use the full buffalo. Like that, the thing
Ooh,
about it is that
yes,
is
the
actually
lessons. Yes.
yes, like that whole history to me is more like the full picture is so much more interesting and I think relevant than just these little freaking sterilized versions of it that we get. And for some reason, they're so opposed to hearing it. They're so opposed to hearing the full story. And I'm like, guys, it's a beautiful story. Okay, well, I just got a thing. Maybe they're so opposed to hearing it is because in if the story concluded as it naturally should, we really would be living in a kumbaya nation, and we look around and we're just not. So
We're just,
you can't
yeah,
even
because
start the
it doesn't
story.
make sense.
Yes, because somewhere down the line it starts to get really dark, much darker, and no one wants to read that. No one wants to
Girl,
read
just
it.
like the
But
Bible. Like, girl, this is real things that really just really do not make sense.
they don't make sense collectively, but if you take them as individual stories, and this, it's actually kind of interesting. But also, it's weird because people will read things like, okay, because I mean, because that's what it is, right? It's a collection of essays from a bunch of different people, but
Hmm.
they'll hear stories about like children being sacrificed and be fine with it. And then you say something like, I'm a witch in modern day, and they'll lose their mind.
They want to burn you at the stake.
It's like, wait.
Wait a minute, you're
You know,
okay with killing the children? The sacrifice,
you,
sacrificing the children.
yes,
What are we sacrificing?
yes.
It's
And
all about children sacrifice all the
there's
time,
a
girl.
lot of sacrifice, like a lot of
Hmm.
murder in the Bible.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So, that's what it's just all these disconnects. Like, I don't know how people are able to hold space in that way. Like, to me, I just ask questions and I'm like, no, this isn't, come on,
Hmm.
Like, come on, guys.
Come on,
These
guys.
stories have a lot of holes. Like, what was
They
he doing
do.
there? How did they even have a conversation? Like, did they know each other's language? You
With
know what I mean? How long did it take people to
how?
acclimate? Like,
Yes,
I have
yes,
questions. Like,
yes,
how did
yes.
we end up with reservations then if everything was
Yeah,
so damn
let's talk.
copacetic?
Yes.
Like,
Girl, I
tell
think that
me.
is talking about like the you were talking about earlier about treaties and like how they always go back on their word.
Yes.
And the Indians have at times gotten up into that ass. Like, oh, you
Hmm.
said this. I
Hmm.
don't know. Was it who was it? Was it Teddy Roosevelt? Hold on, not Roosevelt. I'm
Eleanor?
thinking no.
Oh, Kennedy?
I love Eleanor. Let me see. Hold on, girl.
I know. Eleanor is actually
Um,
dope.
let's see. Oh, it
Um,
was Theodore Roosevelt. His administration
mhm.
oversaw land policy that enabled a lot of but they allowed discriminatory policies, but they went against their treaty. They had some treaty in 1903.
Was it a
Yeah.
national treaty?
Let me see.
Well, I mean, that's the history of it, though, is the fact that they often went back on the treaties. Like, they treated them as though they weren't binding documents quite
Mm-hmm.
frequently and quite regularly,
Yeah.
Because, I
They,
mean, think about it. Like, how did
it was
natives end
purely an
up,
advantage of that they took.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. Just because they were really talking to trusting people and they came over here all snaky and slimy, wanting more land just so they could carve it up. I mean, it's crazy. Like, why the hell does Mount Rushmore exist? I feel like a lot of Americans might come for me for asking that question, but what exactly is the point of it?
Oof. Oh man. You know what I often think about Mount Rushmore.
Do you? What do you
I
think about it?
do. And I think like what the hell were we thinking? Although we all needed some kind of monument, I don't know if if the people in this place that wasn't the move though. I don't think that even serves a real purpose. I think that I always think about it like who was the when did they say I had a great idea? I have a great idea about a monument. Here's what we're going to do. We're just going to blast the face of this perfectly good mountain and carve the images of all of these white men up on there. Like that is weird as fuck.
It is
That's weird
weird.
as fuck. And I always think about there was another monument that they were trying to get started too. Do you remember this? Like,
Oh, I don't
it was
know.
supposed to be like a big Indian or something, and the shit's just,
Oh, I
do you
do
remember?
remember
And the
that. Yeah,
shit
yeah,
just
yeah,
never
yeah.
really got off the ground. It was like disaster after disaster. I don't know exactly like what all was happening, but it wasn't just coming to fruition. And I'm pretty sure the ancestors was like, we don't need to be. We
Yeah.
are this
This
country. We
isn't,
are the
yeah,
rocks.
this is,
We are the mountains. We don't need to be carved
Yes,
upon it.
correct. This isn't
Let
how we
them do it.
honor.
Let them
Yep.
fucking carve themselves blasting in. I don't know who, and even with every great, like, Marvel, like the Hoover Dam, there's always like some casualties. So I think the ancestors would be like, nah, we don't need nothing like that because, it's going to cost more than it's really worth.
Yeah. It's gonna take more than it will give back. Yeah. I do agree. I mean, that's the unfortunately like progress. There are casualties of progress, but I mean, the dam is a perfect example. Is we do get to harvest natural resources, and so it's
Right.
like at least it's not just some mountain sitting there forever changed that
Oof,
offers that you have to pay to go see with
pay.
only like certain presidents on it. Like who? And the thing about it is, I don't know. Did they not think the country was going to last very long? Because
That's what
is it
I'm
for the presidents
thinking.
or not? Like, should no one else gets their head up there? Like, what the
There's no room.
heck?
There's no room.
Like,
Girl,
you
but I
guys
can see
saw
this
it.
old geezer getting at it and fucking blasting all their
I
asses off of
freaking
there.
did hear that they were trying to get his bust added. I heard that, like a little
Oh,
rumble of that a little bit.
oh,
And it's like
girl.
at this point, who cares? You are going to be infamous,
Oh,
so you
yes.
might as well.
Girl, it
You might
takes
as
you
well.
back. It
You
really
know what I
takes you
mean?
back to the future, like that whole like how they had like all this stuff and then they had that Biff character who was like
Yes.
immortalized. That's who
Yes.
he reminds me of, I
Me
swear.
too. He's so much like
He's so
him.
much like him. He's
It
just, I mean,
just.
I
Ugh.
think that's, girl, it's, if we create our own reality, girl, I'm pretty sure that he didn't put
Even if
himself
you think about it,
upon it.
it all he's like he that's
Hmm.
exactly one of his caricatures for sure.
For sure. For sure.
And he would be fine. It's just like I don't want him running the nation I live in. Like go
I'm running the
elsewhere.
nation I live in
It's not that
either.
because I don't well, I don't hate him, but I have a heavy disgust for the way that he runs nations.
It's heavy. It's
And
very heavy.
it's like, bro, just go do something else. Like, oh, keeps. You
Girl,
know what I
go,
mean?
yes, go do
Like, why
something else.
can't we? Like, we are not a nation that is having a good time, and I think it's just because like there's just so much like if you just kick the dirt a little bit, you're gonna find like dead bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We've got too
man.
many dead bodies. We need to give them a proper burial so we can like
Ooh.
move on. You know?
Yeah, proper burial is in order for sure, for sure, for sure, Stephanie.
I
But yeah, girl,
agree.
we are all the conversations that people are having right now is about like segregation and whatnot. What are
I
you thinking
think,
about that? Tell me your
oh my
thoughts.
God. Well, I told you what I think. I mean, ultimately, they're gonna need us before we need them
Okay. Okay.
because we've been segregated. They never have. Do you know? That's like what I'm saying. They never
And
have.
I was waiting for you to say that because that is the perfect point. That is the perfect
Like
point.
we've already been here. We know
We've been,
exactly
yes.
we also know what it looks like when we
Mm,
start to achieve upper mobility and other races don't like it. Like we see listen, we are I think that's one of the things that people forget about Black people is unfortunately we're the fucking blueprint for everything.
we are
Gynecology, babe, guess who they tested first?
the Black woman,
Syphilis, guess who they tested
the
first?
Tuskegee Airmen.
Do you understand? Like we are unfortunately very true to this. And so it's
Blackity
like
black black. Okay.
we know what it's like to live and have to fucking get it how we live it. We
Mm-hmm.
know what that's like. That's how soul
Mm-hmm.
food was created. We can turn the pieces of meat that you're throwing away into some chicken fried something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll
Oh
we'll
yeah.
make it work, right? So
Yeah.
that's I it's I listen. because I'm kind of entering a bit of an anarchist phase, part of me's like, let's try it. But let's really try it. Like, if we're gonna do it, that means that all our shit comes back to us. Our athletes come back to us. Our music comes back to us. Do you know what I mean? You can't see what the fuck we're doing on social media.
Okay.
We are gonna shut. We're gonna bring everyone in
Oh,
and shut the door behind us.
oh
Like, let's
wow.
really
Okay.
do it. Right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
Right?
Ooh,
That's
wait.
kind of how I feel. Like, if we're gonna do it, do it. And then you say that to them, and it's over. Keeks, there's literally a very popular sound on TikTok that's like, when you're black, you're never really lonely because there will always be, and it's because they can't help but be up in it. Y'all
They
can't
all up
help
in
it.
it.
You
Yes,
you are, you know what I'm saying? By very nature, you need to be by. So again, it's gonna hurt them before it hurts us.
I feel you.
I'm down to try it. Shit. Well, and it's one way because I'm all pro like dividing the country, and I'm like, you know what? I didn't want to be the one to say race, but maybe, maybe we should try.
Maybe, maybe, girl,
Maybe
maybe,
this is really how things need to be. Maybe this is how Wakanda comes to be. Who knows?
girl. You know what I
Who
mean?
knows?
It has to be the way. But girl, I'm with it with that shit. Um, because you know what? Give the people all of everything because we've gotten bits and pieces, and some is
Mm-hmm.
missing, and some,
Mm-hmm.
we've built upon, or maybe it's not, it wasn't the right. But then, really, can you really get down to the real deal? And really, to be honest, this country is a very segregated country as today.
You
I
know what
mean,
it
if you go
is?
back to the South or you go back to the East, it's very
Uh,
like, oh, that's the black side of town
yeah,
across the tracks. Oh, that's that. And we always even talk about it. Just me, like I told you that we have a very cultural experience here in San Diego. Because where I live, it's mostly Pacific Islanders or
hmm
Vietnamese, and there's, you know, very like Filipino. It's a lot.
yeah,
But there's a few of us sprinkled in between. There's a few white people also. Of course, there's a lot of white people sprinkled in between in San Diego. But then when we go down south, it's more so they have like little Saigon, and then they have
yeah,
like little Italy, and then they have like it's still segregated, and
yeah.
then they
I
have
I
the
do
east side,
agree.
the
I think the
southeast.
difference is that for the most part, like, because you still, like, even if the places are like, this is where this is, it could, like, if you were looking at it like holistically, it could just be like these are where these communities live, right?
Yeah,
Because it's not like you're not allowed in that community.
right.
Segregation takes it a step further and says you're not allowed in that community. And I
Mm,
also feel like the problem with the way, with it being like this is where these communities are, is that we are mostly segregated by policy, right? So it's
mm-hmm.
like, and then we historically know that policy affects certain communities worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if we're gonna do this, and everyone gets this, and then it's just gonna be you're over here getting it, you're over here getting it, and you're over here getting it. And if it's done right, we're gonna thrive.
Oh, you
Like
know
I
it.
said, again, we're the blueprint, baby. You want to know how, and that's why y'all need to listen to us. But they swear we're dumb. They swear we're unqualified, and it's like, build a nation. Then you go build a nation.
Okay. Let's see it.
Let's start there.
Let's start there. Girl,
You
do
know?
you know like how much of gene, how like in our genes or in our DNA and our ancestry. Like that's why I'm such a plant lady. I feel like okay, I can kind of look at plants and see like what they can do. Like I'll try to see, okay, can I propagate this? Is this a climber? Is this a crawler? Like I'll do those assessments when I'm buying the plant, so I could just see myself being a little farm lady out there getting it.
Yes.
Girl,
Yes.
my
That's
my
so funny
grandfather
that
had
you
the
say that.
bomb ass garden. He had the best
Mhm.
strawberries. He had the best corn. I mean, you've ever. taste it. And you know
Mhm.
that what they say about that corn. I know you're not a corn girly,
Not a corn girl.
but off the cob, girl, straight up off, like break that thing off.
Hmm.
That is the best you gonna ever get. Not
That's
dipping
true.
it in butter and
Yeah.
steaming it for an hour or two, but just getting it off. Like that was something that they had in their bones. Like they were ready, And he farmed in New Mexico. He also had a farm out here in Lake Elsinore.
Mhm.
So that's where, like, I was like, dang, these corn stalks are really high. I was just like, wow. But girl, just imagine getting a piece of land like they promised us
40 acres in a mule.
and a
I will
mule
get
to,
it.
to plow the field, girl. Just imagine. But that was too much.
I know.
They all
Well,
that
you're
was too
right
much to get.
in
Because
that.
girl,
I
we would
know.
have went places for sure.
Speaking of going back on treaties, I mean, it's still it's just what they be doing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
fuck. Historically speaking, I'm literally stuttering because I'm thinking some foul shit. So I'm actually not gonna say it, and I'm
Sharks.
actually gonna cut all of this
I
out
got
of the
you. I
podcast.
got you. I got
But
you. I got you.
one of the things I wanted to say is, yeah, I think you're right because even with me, like, I don't necessarily have a green thumb. I'll be the very first to admit, although I love living in luscious places. That's kind of how I'm built. I just can't create it for myself. But what I'm really good at is like restoration, right? It's like I see
Yeah.
something and I'm like, I can put that together. I can take it apart, you know. So and these are things that I was never like. I didn't get any formal training, and it just comes very naturally, like,
Hmm.
how to make things go together. So yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that genealogically is innate to us. So it's like we'd be fine.
We
We'd
would
be
be.
absolutely okay.
Girl, I'm down
There's
to get be the blacksmith because I feel like I got that in me too. I don't know
mhm,
anything about being a
mhm,
blacksmith, but girl, I
mhm.
feel that like as a
Yeah,
Sagittarius, a fire
yeah,
sign, girl, give
yeah,
me some fire and some metal.
yes.
Girl,
And
ain't no
create
telling.
something. Yes.
Ain't no
I love
telling.
it. I love it. It'll be basically like the Hunger Games. Do you know what I mean?
Girl, let's do
Except
it.
our district will be thriving. I think that's the part
Yes.
that they got wrong because they were writing it from a white lens. It's like, no, 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 no,
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
Where we go, Wakanda becomes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm down to like, listen, y'all, no, y'all are not threatening us with a bad time.
Come on now,
I
come
feel
with it.
like if we're gonna do it, let's just do it right. I mean, that's something that I think as a progressive could be explored. The thing about it is they just never could or would because I think what they're more likely to do is just make policy worse for us so that we can never get out
Yeah.
from under their
Yeah.
thumb. Like trap us that
Yeah.
way.
The
You know what I'm saying?
tyrannical
Like take all the black people's
tyranny.
passports.
Yeah.
I think that's
Oof.
far more likely to happen. But
It
I
would.
love the idea of like black towns. There isn't. I mean, sometimes people will say like there are black towns, or they'll say like Atlanta,
Oh,
or do you think they consider Houston to be a black town, or is it more Latino?
I would say they might think of it as I don't know, one of these places they always like say these are the chocolate cities, and I think you're right. Houston is one
Oh,
of
it might be
those.
Houston. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, the point I'm trying to make though is that none of those are black cities.
No, they're not. But you know what? I think that after Hurricane Katrina, Houston did have a good
An
resurgence.
influx. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Well, I'm
had a
sure that
lot
actually does make
of
sense. Because that is the other city they said is a black city is New Orleans. But listen, if that's the case, then those all come to us.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, the point is that they're not black cities because Oakland is supposedly a black city, and I see more white people in Oakland than I ever see black. You know?
Girl, what is it about Oakland? You tell me. Like you've been living out there. I only
Yes.
went there, visited one time, and I was like, "That is a no." It was a no go then, and then it's a no
Oh,
go now. But I know I do have an auntie that lived in like the area, and then San Francisco. She loved it to death.
yeah.
But
My mom did too. My mom loved it, and she was thought
girl,
of
I
backing
was
out here
like,
as
not, I
well.
was not impressed.
I think that Oakland geographically is a beautiful city. Like it's just like gorgeous. It's right by the bay. The weather's nice. Like they've got these gorgeous hills. It's geographically really nice. This is ultimately what I think the air quote problem with Oakland is, and I think it's kind of the problem with the Bay Area in general. Because I've been here for a while. I think that there's a lot of talk about how proud people are to represent the Bay, but that pride is lip service in terms of how they
Mm-hmm.
represent the Bay, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
So, like, I think I was talking to you on the phone yesterday about how I signed up to volunteer and how it had just kind of become this like debacle. And I never in my life, I've been volunteering my whole life, as I'm sure you know. I've never in my life had trouble finding ways to give back of my time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to do here in the Bay Area because they, again, there's all this pride, but it doesn't show up in any type of community. Sure, I think that this was also one of the places that was hit pretty hard by the crack epidemic of the 80s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so there's still a lot of that kind of residually flowing through. And instead of like turning that corner, some people have kind of just settled into that space.
Mm-hmm.
It's very individualistic, right? It's not, there's no community feel. And it's funny because it's one of the only places that I've lived where I've ever felt that. I will say the exception has been San Jose, where I definitely felt like a community vibe in that city. But anywhere in the East Bay of the Bay Area, it's like, what the hell are y'all doing? It's so
Ah!
fractured. And the crazy thing is, there's literally streets that will run through all the cities. So that's how connected they are. But there's just
Mm.
a disconnect in terms of like how community shows up. It's weird. I don't know. That's what I think it is. It's just a lack of community. And with that, it means that they're not willing to do the things that are hard that need to be done to kind of help the community stand up or move forward. And there's a huge like no snitching culture, which literally pisses me off. So it's like no accountability is ever taken either.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
rough. It sucks because people are like, I love Oakland, I love Oakland. And it's like, you love the idea of what Oakland. There's no way that you love
Mm.
Oakland because you're not showing Oakland any love, you know?
Oh,
Are
okay.
you go like do you know what I mean? Are you going to council meetings? Are you picking
Right.
up trash? Are you do you
Mm-hmm.
know like what's going on? Like what
Uh-huh.
policies are gonna affect you? Like that's love, not
Uh-huh.
just repping a place because you live there.
Well, what are some of the resources that you guys have out there that you think that everybody in the state or for the nation for that matter? I know that up there is the Silicon
Hmm.
Valley,
Hmm.
but what else does Oakland and the Bay Area bring
Well, Oakland's a
besides
shipping.
those things and
Yeah,
shipping
yeah. I mean, it is
the
a port, so that's kind
yeah,
of a pretty big deal. Is the fact that it is a port city, and I think that definitely offers it some more stability where other cities may not have because I mean you can't close down that port. It's part of the leg of the
yeah,
international waters.
yeah.
I also feel like in Oakland specifically, there is a pretty cool art scene. Like
Okay.
there's this TV show or movie actually. I think it's called like 1897. It's about a record store. And this I guess DJ or VJ whatever that came about actually it's about a basketball player shit they I don't even know his name but he's local to the Warriors, was kind of a really big deal in like the 70s or whatever, and they filmed that whole movie here. So we have like real stars like Pedro Pascal here, like
Mm-hmm.
in the city contributing to the bottom line. So there's like this budgeting art scene that could go really far. But the problem is people have a tendency to not come here because unfortunately the crime. I mean, they have people on the streets have literally jacked cameramen of their cameras while recording about crime. So, and so
That's
it's like,
wild. That's
yes.
wild.
So, but that's the problem though, is like you get here and then, like I don't even drive my car to that city. I never do. And so
I
it sucks
wouldn't.
because it's like sometimes, again, it's just right next door. You
Mm-hmm.
want to hop in and go eat or whatever. But the moment I start thinking that, I'm like, oh, where am I going to park? Should I? All these detractors to just going to
Damn.
have a meal in the city.
Damn.
So it's got its issues. I don't really know what can fix them. I mean, you heard that story about how the mayor was it? Yeah, the mayor got caught up in some kind of like fraud. She just got
Hmm.
elected.
She just. Come
so,
on, people of color. Like, girl, come on.
so it's just stuff like that. It's just going to be a city that continues to struggle until the majority of the residents say enough is.
Hmm.
But I don't think that they ever will get there because you can just drive out of Oakland and be in the mountains and some port, like in Tahoe. You can be in the
Hmm.
city. So I don't know that
Yeah.
there's any incentive for them to,
That's
because those that
sad.
are upwardly mobile get out of it. They leave.
Yeah, and they have their like vacation home there.
Yes.
They
Yes.
come 3 months out in the
They really
winter.
do. They really do. I mean, I had a coworker that had a home in what they considered to be the hills, but he spent most of his time in Tahoe. And then
Mm.
when he fully retired, he just started traveling around Europe. And I think he's actually going to move. He'll probably sell his Oakland house because his kids are going to college back east. And I think that's the goal, is to
Mm.
move to like New York or whatever. And then he'll just keep the Tahoe place. But that's how it is. You know what I mean? They leave it
Hmm.
behind.
Damn.
And the people that are behind just get stuck behind,
Ah, literally stuck.
you know? It's rough, but I mean,
Dang.
it's also
It
gentrification is rough.
really
I mean, I
is.
don't think that anyone from Blackdom suffered from gentrification, but thriving as an all black city can be,
Yeah, it was really
they just
hard.
don't like to see it.
Mm-mm, they didn't like to see it. Back then, there was a few stragglers that stayed behind and stuff, but
Well,
they
clearly.
wanted that land. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
the oil that was on it. So,
Mm-hmm.
girl,
Mm-hmm.
there's a story also too to add to this. And I don't think I've ever told you this, but my grandfather Buddy also owned the land where the military institute now stands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he owned that actual property. The story goes that he was kind of like lowballed into thinking
Of
so yeah, of
course.
course. Yeah.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Hmm. Hmm.
The NIMI, that's what we call it,
Nimmy.
NIMI.
Yeah,
I
the
spent
good
an
old Nimmy.
ungodly amount of time at NIMI. What the
Oh,
hell?
talk about
I did a lot of sneaking around that damn place. I snuck around NIMI quite a bit.
like a Mission
Um,
Impossible girl.
like Mission Impossible, just literally most of the time it was at night, just,
Yeah.
doing what
Uh-huh.
the hell.
All up
But
in
it's weird
there.
because I didn't date a lot of them. I was
Mm-mm.
just hanging out. It was just
Just
fun,
hanging out.
because they
Yeah, I
came from
didn't.
all over. So,
They did. They did. I had my time up there too, but I never
mhm.
really I didn't never date anybody. I would just be riding up there as the third wheel,
Yes,
trying
same,
to see what the goings on was. But girl, I
same.
never really did get involved with them dudes because I was like, I don't even know. Like even at that time, I felt like, yeah, well, what they gonna do after? They're gonna go off to be an officer and a gentleman. Who the fuck knows?
This is
And
true. Back to whatever state they came from, because they are
yeah,
not
and then
local
you're just gonna
boys.
be hanging out.
Oof, yeah.
Oh, poor well to the girls that have gotten left behind.
Pour one out to the girlies. It is Women's History Month.
It
Um,
is hell. Hmm.
that's crazy. I feel like you know what it is? It's like a scale, right? It's like there's like army men, there's law enforcement officers. Do firefighters go into the law enforcement officers, or do they stand on their own?
Girl, they got to stand on their own. I'll just
Okay.
say I'll give it up to them. They have to. They in a
There's
whole class of their
firefighters.
own. I don't even think we hear too many stories about them being. I mean, that I'm sure because there were some stories that came out just recently about the
I've heard
firefighters. But
them. Those are some fucking treacherous stories, man.
they
Yikes.
are, girl. It's
Ah.
just that, like, they're just resurfacing. But, girl, these are just a few of the layers. But I
Of
do believe that
layers.
the firemen, they have their own
Yeah,
lane.
they're in
It's,
their own lane. And then the
yeah.
last one is athletes. So it's
Oh, yeah.
army men,
Yeah.
police officers, firemen, and athletes. Those are like red flags.
Yeah.
They're red flags. I I don't know if you've heard about like that Karen Reed trial. Have you heard anything about that? So she's this woman out of Boston who's on trial for killing her cop boyfriend.
Oh, wait a minute.
It
Wait
is
a freaking whole
a
entire minute.
saga.
Why was I watching that last night? No, it's because I
Shut
thought it was
up.
some, I didn't know what it was. I just
Yeah.
thought, oh, this is something new. Oh, let's try it out. It's a documentary. It's got a couple of eps. Let's see what it do. But
Mhm.
girl, I don't even. I was like, what? The way she was talking about him, like he had to blow off some steam and all of that, I was like, oh, I know he was a whole
Yeah, a
situation.
mess.
But
Yes,
then
for
also
sure.
she was a whole situation too.
Oh, I haven't really even gotten into it because I'm just
Girl,
salaciousness
but
like
tell me
that.
the story
Maybe
because
I
I
will.
really was like on
Well, see,
autopilot when it was going down.
I don't know much of the story. Maybe I should
Mm.
watch it so I get the full story. But the highlights are just that she dated this guy. Um, I don't even think they were together for very long, and he ended up dead, and no one knows how he died, but they're saying that she did it. That's the gist of what I know. I actually probably will watch the documentary because I need something new to watch. But the real lesson here is don't date a cop.
Girl, that is the lesson.
It's
But
the
girl,
lesson.
the friends there, the friends that were his colleagues, they're saying that they actually had something to do with his death because for whatever reason, girl, I think I just think like, well, when she said on the show, she said he needed to blow off some steam because he could be a lot. And I was thinking like, and then she was talking about how they had like this tumultuous relationship basically,
Hmm.
and they went out to go drinking to blow off some steam, and then they were asked to come to this one residence where all the friends were going to be. She says she drove up there was no lights to be seen.
Mm.
She was totally pissed off at him, and she was telling him, "Oh, you're using me, whatever. I can't believe it." Because she was like she says that she was in the car waiting on him to make entrance or whatever to see if anybody was there because she said it looked like vacant. And so she said she was texting him and he wasn't responding, and she sat there for maybe 5 to 8 minutes or so, and then she pieced out and went home. And then the next day, the rest is history.
Oh, he didn't come home. Is
That's
that the
what and she was
interesting?
like,
Well, where did they
then
find his body?
out in the front yard, girl.
Of that house?
Yes.
Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah, I just think that it's dangerous. I had one of my friends was dating a police officer, and they were actually living together. And she was like smoking up a little doobie, you know what I mean, like whatever. And he came home, and this was actually in Arizona. He came home and smelt it and freaked the fuck out on her, dude. And so they got into this whole fight, and she's like throwing his shit out the balcony. They're like breaking up. And this motherfucker tried to arrest her. Can you believe that?
Wait a minute.
He was like gonna arrest her.
Like a uncitizen arrest for a
Like
peace
I don't
officer.
even know. Apparently they can just arrest you. I mean, because they are an officer of the law, and she was breaking the
Wow.
law technically. And they got in a fight, and he just didn't like that she was trying to break up with him. So he was like, she said that he was like, put your hands behind your back.
Ooh,
Could you imagine that?
crazy.
I
Oh
told
no, I
her, I was
cannot.
like, what were you even thinking? She
Yeah,
said,
what were you?
never again.
What was she thinking?
Never again. Because of
Oof.
that list of red flags, I think I'll put them in order. It goes police officers, athlete, military. No shit. Yeah, military men and then firemen. I think of how unhinged they can be. You know what I mean?
Jesus, Jesus
I think
Christ.
they just be flying off the handle. It's like they can't handle the power or something. You
Girl, it
know?
is, but I feel like it's more than that. It's also the adrenaline that they can summarize and they can summon at any time and
So
everything.
quick.
And it
Yes.
can go like, ooh,
Yeah.
and
That could
they
be it.
love it. I think that's these people in
It's
these
true. A certain
occupations
type,
are adrenaline
yes,
junkies.
a
Have you
certain
seen
type.
an adrenaline junkie, girl? Have you
I
seen
have.
after adrenaline, like after they have the body that they used to? Do you see how with the adrenaline? It's just like a drug, like
Yeah.
any old street drug.
Yep.
It does you just same way.
I could see that. Yeah,
They
for
be
sure.
looking throwed,
Haggard.
girl.
They
They be
through it.
looking
They go
like,
through
what
it.
the hell? And
They
then
do
they
age
talk about
fast,
it and they say, I was a
especially.
judo junkie. Of course you were.
Ooh,
Either
yeah.
that or a crackhead or, because
Whatever
they
it
be looking
is,
the
we can
same, girl. They be
show.
looking the
It
same.
shows. We can tell. Oh man, no, it's not good. It's really not good. And it is. It is a very specific type that seeks out each of those different things. Sometimes they even cross over in between.
They do.
But I don't know.
They do.
I think men generally have become more unhinged, and I do not know what that is about because it's strange. They're talking about like this supposed male loneliness epidemic, but I'm like,
Not the male lonely.
why do you guys want? What does that have to do with women? Like y'all hate us.
They do.
Go away.
Girl, they
Go talk
really
to your
do.
friends. And it's because
Yeah,
they don't know
they
how to
don't
have a
have
real
any, girl. They don't
conversation.
have.
Not real ones. They don't make
No,
bonds based on real
they
things.
don't. They
Mm-mm.
don't, girl. It's really sad. It
It
really
is
does.
sad.
Can be like, I don't know what life would be like if I didn't have like you and like
Friends, people to just talk
friends.
to.
Just like girl, even like my coworker that I love her down. She's younger than me. Like I don't know how I'm gonna like age myself, but she's very young, and I just like the relationship that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like, I know working with her makes it like that place very tolerable because I know that I'm going to see her and then we're going to have our little chat at lunchtime and then we're going to get back to it to power through the dark dregs of society that
Of
is
capitalism,
corporate
girl.
America. But yeah, friends are a very important thing, and
Mm-hmm.
and I
Do
think
you think
loneliness. Mm-mm-mm.
do you think that men and women can be friends?
No,
What?
unless they're gay.
You really don't think so?
I think that there's a kind of a thing with men and women that, and this is just me, just my take on it. Men and women can be friends, but there is a time where at this in whoever's mind, whether it be in the woman's mind or the man's mind, that they think they could be more. I don't know. I
You
just
think
see
that
it as
always
like
happens?
that you are a woman and and if you are a friend with men you can't really be centered around men. You could okay, well let me go back. So I think you could be friends, but I think you have to take yourself more serious, you know what I mean?
To
Because
be friends
being
with
a
a man?
no, I'm saying for yourself. I'm not saying to be friends with him you got to be like extra. I'm saying for yourself, your own standards. I don't know, I think all men want to f.
Interesting.
That's that's what I think. Whether you're a friend or not, I feel like at some point they think they might be able to bed you.
Oh, that sucks. I actually do feel like you can be friends with the opposite sex. Sexual orientation aside, I do think that everybody has to be pretty damn evolved, though. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's true. There you go.
I think
That's
that's
the
what it
word.
is. Yeah,
You got to be evolved.
because
You can't be
I don't
thinking
know,
with your
because
nether regions. You have to be
yeah,
like, this is
yeah,
a true friend. And I'm sure,
yes.
like, I have a true friend that he's a gay man, and then I have another gay friend that I've been friends with forever.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I feel like that to me. And a male's body, like that is he's like the bee's knees. Like we are
Yeah.
so like intertwined.
Yes, I love
So
my
I
men gay
I would
too.
trust him
Yes.
literally with my life. Like I would
Hmm.
trust him with my life. I would trust that he would always have my best interest at heart, just because we are friends.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess you're right. You can be friends, but I feel like you can't be a pick me. That's it.
No, I mean, because that's like something completely different, right? That has nothing to do with friendship. But
Girl, because
I do wonder
pygmies
that.
will, girl, they are the people that they will hurt you. They will get you killed. Can't just be like all about men and I don't know. I think some women do come off as like they are like, oh, men are everything, and they like just worship the ground.
There are quite a few women, and it seems unfortunately like that number is growing, where they put all their trust in a nigga. Silly
They
hoe, how
do be
you
putting
figure?
all they trust in a nigga, okay, girl. They be
Um,
wanting to be that nigga. I feel like sometimes.
I don't.
Master.
Possible. I think it's possible, but a lot of it just starts with like a lot of more equality because men just aren't used to being to women being they're very, I think, I don't know what causes it, but they just don't like women to be considered their equals. And every single time the conversation breaks down because it's just like they can't for some reason fathom it. And I feel like men have grown over the years increasingly violent too. Because like I've seen this thing on TikTok where like women will be walking and they're like, why I'm not afraid to walk at night, and it'll be like these two big dogs that they're carrying and they're massive and they look dangerous, and then men in the comments will be like, one shot to the head and I'd still get you. Like the
It's always,
craziest
girl,
shit.
like always to the freak. And see, that's why I say they don't be liking us. They don't be
So
liking
yeah,
us
so
really
that's why
like
you
that.
have to be
So
careful. You have to
right.
just be careful being their friends, like because if they're not involved, you are going to find yourself in trouble. Because I men don't understand that no means no, and if all they're trying to do is fuck, it's gonna get ugly quick, right?
It is.
I read this story where this woman was like talking about her nephew, and he had been pursuing this girl, and the girl was like, oh, let me try to remember this. Okay, so he'd been pursuing this girl for a while, and he really liked her, and I suppose that he asked her out. I think that's what happened. He ended up asking her out, and she turned him down. And he was recounting this story to his aunt, and his aunt said, "Well, you know what happens next?" And the little boy goes, I know. Try again." And she said, "No." She's already told you she's not interested. You leave it alone. And that's the difference. Like, why do they think they really like no does not mean no to them? And he was like, this kid was like 11 or 13. So even at that age, they're like, oh yeah, it means that what she's telling me doesn't matter and that I should persist. And it's like,
But
who
they
taught
do,
you guys
see,
that?
and this is what I'm saying. They come up with these things like if first you don't succeed, you must try again. They
Yes.
put these things in their mind like you're the best. You gotta just keep trying at it, and they'll eventually break down. You'll
Yeah.
break them down until they just submit
Yes.
to whatever
That's
you're trying
also
to
what
do.
they're telling him. I think that's some of this red pill content. It's
It is, and
crazy.
it's very much so that
Um,
is very dangerous
It
rhetoric.
is dangerous, Reddit, because they also have this thing that they call like negging, where they'll be like, "Yeah, you're fat." You're like, well, they'll just tell you all kinds of bullshit in the hopes that you're gonna start to, and then once they switch it on you, you'll be grateful that they're like now calling you skinny or whatever. It's the craziest thing.
What's it
It's there's
called,
all
Stephanie?
negging, negging.
Not to be
It's the
confused with nagging.
not to be confused with nagging, but I guess it's the man version of it if you think about it, because they really just don't be letting up.
Yes.
They'll just keep
Oh,
coming at
dang.
you. And it's like,
That is
what happened to the lover boy
tactics.
tactics, girl?
That's what it is.
That's what they're learning from these damn videos.
Hmm.
But it's like, when did men stop loving women? When do you think that happened?
Girl, I don't think they ever did, to be
Oh, that's actually
honest.
probably true. Okay, I have a story for you.
To be honest, I don't think
And
they
this
ever.
is like something that not a lot of people are talking about online enough for me. So I'm going to talk to you about it. And it's about a TV show I watch called Southern. Well, okay. I'm a Bravo girl, as you know. And there's
Uh-huh.
these two TV shows. One's called Summer House and one's called Southern Charm. And it's basically 20, 30 hotties living their lives. Southern Summer House is they go to the Hamptons to party. Southern Charm is they're in Charleston. So there was some crossover. A guy from the Southern show and a girl from the Hampton show had gone together, and they've been together for years. And they broke up. The news hit that they broke up, and then the shows aired. So we're kind of watching them go through what's about to happen. And on
Uh-huh.
one of the shows, and the girl is she actually has a podcast which is wildly successful. It kind of just manifested out of her time spent in the Hamptons house. So she's wildly successful, right? She's really at a national stage. People know her, and she's busy, booked and busy. She's doing all kinds of stuff. And the guy has his own business. It's like kind of like a Martha Stewarty business, right? Like home goods, etc., that he wants to grow. So they're both, doing their thing. But she clearly is like kind of become a national darling. People love her. She's got a great fashion sense, blah, blah, blah. So their relationship, we can see it getting rocky now. We know they've broken up, so we're watching them go through it on each of their respective shows. But she's making her breakfast, and they're sitting and they're talking about her schedule and the fact that she's going to be kind of busy, etc., and how things have kind of changed in their relationship. And he says to her, "I know it's so hard because you make your own money." He said that to her. And nobody seemed to pick up on that. And it was so crazy to me because I immediately thought, oh, yeah, Craig is from the South, right? And in the
Mm-hmm.
South, the way that things typically look is there's a man who's the head of the household and a woman that's at home running it. And the
Mm-hmm.
girl whose name is Paige is from New York, and obviously that's just not how they do things. But it blew my mind because I'm like, no, not you guys in 2025 still thinking this. Because that's the problem. You're right, they didn't love us. They just had control over us. So we had to bend the fucking knee.
Girl, when you think about marriage, it's a freaking contract, right?
It is literally a contract. Oh my God. It's literally a contract. That's
Well, there you
crazy.
go. Like, and in whenever you become, when they say when two become one, this is not the way the men's mind think. That it's not. They're not. You're not becoming one with a woman. What?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You are becoming that man's property,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it is. I don't think like I will think that I like to think that, we will all think about like marriage as this institution where, each other are building each other up. We're, building a family that we're gonna eventually have a legacy. But girl, now the girls are really talking about what it really means to
Yeah, be in that type
create
of a
a
commitment. Yeah.
it has to be a real commitment between two
Mm-hmm.
people that are evolved. And like I
Yeah.
said, like marriage as an institution, that shit needs to go away. They need to kind of figure in some other things. Like they just need to figure out a
Well,
different
that's what's wild when you say that because the facts are is the reason why it's a contract is because then it affords you certain things. So people often enter these contracts
or
so they can
when
get
women
those
couldn't
things.
freaking vote and when they couldn't bank and when they couldn't have
Yep.
hold anything on their own.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nothing.
that's
You
what it
had
was
to
good for.
you had to.
Hmm.
No, I definitely agree. But what's wild is like to bring it kind of all the way back around. I mean, this your ancestor that went struck out west and kind of settled and whatnot. What happened to those types of men? Because clearly his whole thing was like building a community of his loved ones and like their loved ones around him. Like that really kind of used to be what drove them was to be able to provide for their families, right? And it
Cause
was something
look,
that
cause
even
they
if labor
had
was
to, girl,
hard,
they had to because that woman definitely would go out there. She wasn't built for that. You know what I mean? Elizabeth wasn't built for like
yeah.
to get out there and build an A-frame up. But these women nowadays,
That's true. So I could probably build an A-frame. I was actually
you
thinking
could
about
go
building
literally
a deck.
online and figure
Yes.
out how to do some stuff. That's how I
Yes.
mean, and I feel like a lot of things were gatekept back in the day from
They
women. They'll go
were
show Sunny Boy how to do
intentionally.
this.
Yes.
They're gonna show
Yes.
their other,
Yes.
but they're not gonna
That's
show Betsy
true.
Sue like how to
That's
get
true.
this popping. Okay,
That's
she
true.
might have been in the garden,
Yeah.
but mostly she was
Yeah.
in the house. Making sure that the fires was still lit.
Yes, stoking the fires
Stoking the
or
fire, girl.
or
We had to keep
dusting
that
or
fire
some
lit.
shit, peeling the potatoes. Yeah, she was working. She was doing
Churning the butter.
yes.
I don't know,
Yes.
girl, what the girls
Yes.
was doing, but
The
they
girls were
definitely weren't,
working.
out homesteading and getting it busy like that. To be completely honest, I feel like yeah, men they had to be, and even like their status, was built upon that. Okay, I'm a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Like I'm this, like I'm a carpenter. So they had these titles which women didn't have.
Hmm.
They just didn't
Yeah.
at
And
all.
that's how they made their money, right? It's like this is
Hmm.
what I can offer society.
Yes. And then
And
even
yeah.
bartering at the mercantile store,
Hmm.
hey, I can build you a little another room out here like
Hmm.
for the ice chest or the ice block or
Hmm.
whatever the hell they had going on. But these things were traded and bartered upon. This is how they
Yeah.
were able to
Well, that
to
also brings
live.
up another interesting point, and that's like the role that capitalism has played in
Mm-hmm.
kind of the division of the sexes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very
because
much so. Very
they
much
now
so.
that women can, men seem like I think men must be questioning themselves, like, what do I bring to the table if
Yeah.
she's got this, and this? And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, I don't think they spend enough time in examination of that.
Girl.
They think that their penis is enough, and it's like, babe, it hasn't been enough for a very long
A
time.
very long time, girl.
What
And
else?
when women started getting educated, and I feel like, you know, that was another layer
Hmm.
to
Oh,
it.
for sure. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of men that are educated, but like sometimes they not. They're not
Yeah.
trying to go.
Well,
They
I
just
mean,
feel
and
like I got what I need. I'm a
yeah.
man. I'm industrious. I can build a business. I could do whatever. But education was not. But the women, we were always taught that you must
Well,
educate
you because
yourself.
you had to, because that
You
was the thing
did.
that was going to get you through the door
Hmm.
versus a man just being industrious. Like that was
Yeah.
enough for him to kind
Or
of strike
just
out on
being a
his own.
man and just
Yeah.
a
I mean,
straight up
because
man.
again, just like your ancestor, I mean, he was like a recently freed slave, and he's just a man saying, "I'm going to go build a town." Like
Hmm.
women have never been able to be that audacious.
Nope.
ever. If we are, they will are quick to label us. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're a this, you're a that. She's a ball buster. She's like a, you know what I'm saying?
Say it again, Stephanie.
Immediately
What's it
start
called?
calling us out our name. It's like, well,
What
girl,
is
I
it
just want
called?
to
A ball buster?
ball buster.